Hello, Eagles Nation, and welcome to the very first episode of the Kelly Blitz podcast. The podcast where you'll be able to get the weekly news from Philly, reactions from Eagles games, and other headlines from around the league. As the season progresses, I'll be bringing in fans from opposing teams and some other fellow Eagles fans to discuss that week's game. The podcast will usually air on Tuesdays. I'm your host and fellow Eagles fan, Adrian Pisano. I want to thank you all for tuning in to this very first episode of the Kelly Blitz. On this week's episode, we'll be discussing Jalen Carter's spit that was heard around the world, the reaction from the Eagles and Cowboys game, and some other headlines from around the league. Are the Chargers and the Steelers contenders for the Super Bowl? They could be. We'll find out. This past Thursday, the Super Bowl defending champs, the Philadelphia Eagles, faced off against a familiar foe, the Dallas Cowboys, for the 2025 season opener. As an NFL fan and as a football fan, this is a very exciting time for us all, as we have both college and NFL season right around the corner, and it means that we'll be watching football for the next few months without any distractions. It was an exciting night for me. I was watching it with my brother, and that excitement wouldn't last too long. It wouldn't even last 2 plays. Shortly after kickoff, Jalen Carter was ejected from the game. And at first glance, we didn't see why. What did he do that caused this ejection? And then we watched the replay, and it clearly caught Jalen Carter spitting towards the opposing QB, Dak Prescott. A very disrespectful and a very disgusting act. And it really set the tone for the rest of the game. Our defense never really got into it, and I believe it was due to the shock of having your star defensive player, Jalen Carter, ejected from the game so early on. It's a very disrespectful act, and now we have found out that he was fined $50,000 for it. No one should ever spit on another human. Yet what also wasn't respectful was Dak spit first, which is what prompted Jalen Carter to respond the way he did. Later replay in the broadcast showed us that Dak Prescott actually spit towards Jalen Carter's direction, and then he stepped back and he actually smiled, clearly prompting Jalen Carter to respond in some way. Yet that way wasn't the correct way. He shouldn't have spit at him, and Jalen Carter said it would never happen again. I know the veterans in the locker room, such as Lane Johnson and Jalen Hurts, probably already have had a conversation with good old Jalen Carter to explain the importance that he has on the team, and also that just doesn't belong in the NFL. Yet, despite his ejection, the Philadelphia Eagles still defeated the Dallas Cowboys in a 24-21 game, having us and the Commanders in first place with a 1-0 start, and the Giants and the Cowboys down in the division with a 0-1 start. I did expect this game to be more of a blowout, since the Dallas Cowboys weren't that good last year, and obviously we're coming off a Super Bowl win. Yeah, it is a divisional game. Yeah, it is week 1. And yes, we did have Jalen Carter. So there is a little bit of slack there that I could provide to the Eagles. So it's not panic time at all. The offense in the first half looked pretty good, especially Jalen Hurts, who had 2 running touchdowns and who also had a few great passes to Dallas Goedert and Jahan Dotson. Saquon added another touchdown to the game. And in the second half, both offenses didn't really look good. Some of it's probably due to that lightning delay, that was there for about an hour or so. We won the game, and Jake Elliott hit a 50-yarder, which means that he's back. Jake the Make is back, everybody. Last year, he did struggle a bit from distance, but he's always been a pretty consistent and reliable kicker. I still remember in 2017 when he kicked the 61-yarder to beat the New York Giants in week 3 of that season. Yet, there is a little bit of concern, and it's more on the defensive side than the offense. The Cowboys offense in the first half moved that ball pretty easy, and it was a little concerning how we couldn't get it stopped. Our defensive line did get ran over a bit. But then again, I think that's due to Jalen Carter not being in the game. I believe if he was there, the Cowboys would not have been as successful on the run, and we probably would have beat them. We probably would have had a bigger score margin. The secondary, though, was also shaky. Number 8, Adoree Jackson, needs to get out of Philly. Number 8 was worn by Gardner Johnson last year, and he did not resemble CJ at all. If it wasn't for CD, Lamb having no hands. There's a huge possibility that the Eagles would be 0-1 right now. But luckily, he didn't show up when it mattered the most, and here we are 1-0. Is A.J. Brown still on the team? In the fourth quarter, we were reminded that he was when he caught a catch that got the first down and really sealed the game. Yeah, as an Eagles fan, I was a little bit sad when I didn't see so much action from A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, two of the best receivers in the NFL and probably the best wide receiver 1 and 2 tandem in the league. I believe that the coordinators should and have A.J. Brown designated plays to where he gets the ball, and as well as Devontae Smith. I know it was our OC's first game and there should be some slack for that, but yeah, it was still a bit disappointing not seeing A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith catch a few more catches. In the end, it's the first week and there are very few teams looked 100%. Definitely the Eagles were not one of them. Some good signs did include the offense, like I said, in the first half. Plenty of action there. In the second half, that kind of dwindled down, but I believe that was due to some factors, including that lightning delay. Jalen Hurts' performance was pretty good. 2 touchdowns, really good passes to Dallas Goedert and Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson could be a good wide receiver 3. That's what it looks like. He actually has had a full off season with us, not half one like last year, so I hope he does some good things. And I was also impressed by the will to win from the Eagles. It shows that championship degree that we have. No matter all the odds, no matter all the challenges that we faced, we were able to get that win against a Cowboys team that might provide a bit of a challenge for some other teams this year. It definitely looks like the Cowboys are not the Cowboys from last year. Yeah, it's not their year. Moving on to some more headlines from the league this week. I was really impressed by the Chargers beating the Chiefs and Herbert outperforming Mahomes. The few clips that I caught really looked like the offense looked good as well as the defense. And it looks like they controlled pretty much the whole game. I think the Chiefs started to warm up a bit in the second half of the game, but the Chargers had a good game plan and stuck out to that win, edging out a 27-21 win. The Steelers looked pretty good with new QB Aaron Rodgers. It looked like a new fresh start for the QB, and it might be what he needed. Justin Fields in that game also had a good game, and with some good development and some time, I believe he'll be a QB1 and he'll be a pretty good one as well. On Sunday night, and Josh Allen faced off against Lamar Jackson and his Ravens team. For 3.5 quarters, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and the other Ravens dominated the Bills game, and it looked like they were going to be the team to beat this year. They looked like the favorites to win the Super Bowl. That, as has become the common thing, the Ravens blew another fourth quarter lead. They were leading by 15 and ended up losing by 1. Bills and Josh Allen pulled off a crazy comeback where he had some really good passes and some really good runs, showing us why he won the MVP last year. I was impressed by the Ravens at the beginning and by the Bills. I believe they'll both be contenders again this year. Will this year be the one where they finally get over the hump? The Ravens, if they could fix those collapses, they could definitely be in the Super Bowl and could definitely win it. The Bills could definitely as well. But I still have the Ravens as a better team despite that loss. I believe they blew it more than the Bills came back. In the NFC, the Packers were the team that really impressed me the most. Offense and defense looked really good, especially with the addition of Micah Parsons. I believe they will play a huge part in the NFC and will play a huge part in whoever reaches the Super Bowl and beating them. So definitely be on the lookout for them. We play them later in the year, and I'm really excited for that to see how the Eagles and the Packers stack up against each other. With all that said, it should really be an exciting season. Alrighty, y'all. With all the headlines out of the way, it's time to move on to week 2 of the NFL season. This week, the Philly Eagles travel down to KC in a Super Bowl rematch. To preview that game and review some of the last week, I have a good friend here, one of the biggest KC fans that I know, and the biggest Patrick Mahomes defender that you'll meet. This is Joey, everyone. Welcome in.
What's up?
Alright, Joey. Well, thank you for joining in. First thing on the agenda, first thing I want to ask you is, how do you feel after that 0-1 start to the season?
It was tough. I think we had a lot of issues that game. I think the Worthy injury was probably the most significant reason why we lost.
True.
but we had other issues. The O line I thought would be a lot better going into this season, and they looked pretty rough. So I don't know how well that's going to be. I'm hoping that Josh Simmons gets better as the season goes on, so that we can do better with that situation. Another thing that didn't go well was the pass defense. Justin Herbert was able to throw, I think, over 300 yards against us with
Yeah,
Quentin
yeah,
Johnston. Yeah,
yeah.
Quentin Johnston. Ladd, I don't even think Ladd McConkey, I might be wrong, but I don't think he had that good of a game. It was like Quentin
Uh,
Johnston and Keenan Allen.
yeah,
Or
they definitely have some good catches out there.
yeah, so it was strange because in recent years our defense has been able to get a lot better,
Hmm.
and especially with the pass defense, and they just looked lost out there. And I think so basically the three biggest reasons: O line, worthy, and pass defense. Um,
Yeah, I mean
but
those are a lot of the issues that I saw when I was kind of texting you during the game, and as I
yeah.
was watching it too. Do you think those things will be long term problem for you guys?
So the Worthy injury, it looks like I think he'll be able to play against the Eagles. They said he's not going to go on IR. Or he won't need surgery or anything. So he's day to day instead of week to week.
It's good for
So
y'all.
he might be out there. So that's one issue. And to help that issue, also Rasheed Rice will be back after like the sixth game. So I think
Yeah.
as the season goes on, our passing offense will be better. The O line, like I said, O line. We just signed a first round pick, Josh Simmons, and I think obviously as a rookie you get better as the season goes along. So I think the
Yes.
O line is going to start a little rough this
Mhm.
season, like it did last year. But I think by the time we get to the playoffs, it'll look a lot better. And for pass defense, to me, I honestly thought it was more of a fluke, like a week one kind of rusty type of game. I don't think I don't expect this to be that
The
bad.
new Chiefs.
Yeah, especially with McDuffie and Jalen Watson, I think our corners can play better than what they did. And yeah, we didn't get much pressure either. I think we'll do a lot better about getting pressure.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I feel like similar to the Eagles and when Jalen Carter was ejected right away, I feel like the Worthy injury kind of set the tone for the game. At least that's what I saw. I kind of, at least for the Eagles, I think it kind of shocked them. And I feel like it might have had the same effect with the Chiefs when Kelsey injured him.
Yeah, you could tell. Yeah, it took a while for us to really adjust to that. Um, like the offense was pretty weak in the first half against the Chargers, and then in the second half they got a lot better. Hollywood Brown started playing really well. I think he had 100 yards, and so if he could
Yeah,
play as well, if he could play that well, then yeah, the offense should be okay. If I'm being honest, I'm more so worried about the defense this season than the offense.
yeah,
I
and
think
I
we'll be
mean,
a lot better.
I think I share that same sentiment with my team. I think the offense is good with our weapons, but our defense looked a little bit shaky. And
Yeah, I saw
so,
Quinion Mitchell had a pretty poor performance against the Cowboys. I think he had like a below average PFF grade.
yeah,
I was like, okay.
there was a stat that showed that he allowed CeeDee Lamb only 13 yards. So then you go back to the game and see some of the drops that CeeDee had, and that's kind of the reason why it was only 13 or so yards. It was because CeeDee dropped some. If he had caught some of those, I mean, I think the stat sheet would have looked worse.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, I have confidence in Vic Fangio. I mean, last year we were able to get that team ready, but I know we need to get our secondary uh, up to par, or else it's gonna be shaky for the season.
yeah, yeah. I
So,
feel like the Eagles' biggest strength is more so their pass rush, or maybe not their pass rush, but like just the D line in general.
mhm. And I think it'll get better. If Jalen Carter gets back in. Like I said, I thought that was a pretty big shock for the team and for the fan base, and I think it'll get better, especially now that we know he only got fined 50, a little over 50K, and he
I
should be available for week 2 against you all. So I think
yeah,
that pressure should be there a bit more this week.
I think there was talks about him maybe being suspended, but I don't know if that'll actually happen.
I think he only got a fine. I think Adam Schefter reported it either this morning or late last night. saying that he's only getting fined 57K or so, but he should be available for week 2. So I hope that pressure looks a bit better, and I hope it looks a bit more like Super Bowl 59 a few months ago.
Yeah.
So,
I hope not. I think
so,
Josh Simmons is going to be the Jalen Carter destroyer.
is that right? And I guess we've kind of talked about it already, but what do you see this game playing out
Against the Eagles?
against the Eagles? Yep, America's game of the week.
Well, well, I think it does heavily depend if Worthy is playing, and if Worthy is playing, I think it'll be I'm predicting probably a shootout, like a high scoring type of game. Because I think Worthy, Kelsey played well too against the Chargers. That was a bit of a surprise, to be honest.
Besides injuring a key player,
Yeah, yeah. Besides that, he played well. Hollywood Brad had 100 yards, so if we add Worthy to that, I expect us to pass the ball really well. I think Mahomes is going to throw the ball really quick because I think he's wary of the pressure, especially from the Super Bowl. So he's going to be a bit more prepared for that. But
do
I
you
still
think?
think it.
Or go ahead, go
Yeah,
ahead.
but I still think our offense is going to, considering the Eagles' defense did struggle, and they didn't have Jalen Carter, but they did struggle a little bit. I think, yeah, we could put up a lot of points. But defensively, I am a little worried because Jalen Hurts always seems to do well against our defense. I don't know if it's just the way that Spags handles it. Like, I don't know if he's just really good at reading Spags' defense, but yeah, that's kind of what I predict.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask you. Was what do you think Spags will target the run like he did in the Super Bowl? Leave
I
some of those receivers open, or will he target the receivers? Because in my eyes, I don't think AJ Brown will only have one catch on Sunday. The coordinator draws up some plays that will get him open, get him the ball. I feel like it was a pretty weak performance. I don't think it was his fault. I think AJ Brown and Smitty play a bigger role, uh, especially
yeah,
if they target Saquon again.
Yeah, I did. I guess I didn't really take that into account. I think a lot of the time when Spags prepares a defense for the Eagles, it's usually to stop the run. I think he's usually more worried about the run than the pass. But considering Saquon didn't do great in the Super Bowl and he didn't do great last week, I think, and also because Jalen Hurts did throw the ball well in the Super Bowl, I do think we'll be more focused on stopping the pass than we did the last time we played the Eagles.
Yeah, that's fair. Saquon didn't have a whole lot of yards in the Super Bowl, nor did he last week. I'm not sure what the total was, but it wasn't anything compared to last year's earlier game.
Yeah, I think he had like 60 something. I might be wrong.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think it'll be a closer game than a few months ago. I don't think it'll be as big of a blowout as much as I want it to be. Uh,
I hope not.
it'd be great if we could have a rematch, just like that. But I doubt it'll be like that. I think Spags will have them more ready.
I'm thinking like a 35-28 type of game.
Yeah, my prediction was 35 to 21.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
except
think
it'll be the Chiefs, right? 35-21 Chiefs.
nah, not on Cali Blitz. So, what's your final score prediction?
I was gonna, yeah, 35-28. That was what I was saying.
Favor Philly.
Chiefs.
The past 4 or 5 years, the Chiefs have gone that division without any doubt. Everyone feel like the Chiefs are going to get it. After this week 1 loss, I feel like there has to be a little bit of concern, and I think the national media has also shown some lists. I think leaving the Chiefs out of the top 5 this week. So, what do you think? How far
I'll
do you
say
think the Chargers
this.
can get?
I'll say this. The Chargers are the only team that I'm afraid of in the AFC.
Is that right?
And
So,
the entire AFC, not just our division, the entire AFC. I mean, I watched all the games, and at first I was worried because of how we played, and then I was like, none of these teams are actually that scary. Like the Broncos, who were supposed to challenge us for the division, Bo Nix
they
played
look horrible.
terrible. Bo
They
Nix
did.
was terrible, and they barely beat the worst team from last season. So
Yeah,
I'm not worried about that.
I was a bit surprised from the Broncos' performance. Did you
Yeah,
see
I
the?
honestly I was too, to be honest.
Yeah. Did you catch any of the Steelers game?
Yeah, but again, that's another team I'm not worried about because even if Rodgers plays well, there's no way at 40 years old he's going to still be playing well by the end of the season. I don't believe in it. And the Ravens, they of their typical Ravens, they blow a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter. There's
Great.
nobody in the AFC I'm worried about
Yeah,
except the Chargers.
I would have the Chargers up there. The Ravens looked good, but like you said, they did Ravens thing, so you can't trust them yet. And Patrick Mahomes has Josh Allen's numbers, so he hasn't done anything to show
Yeah,
otherwise.
the only thing that could I would be afraid. The only team I'm afraid of is the Chargers, and the only reason like I would be like afraid for us for the rest of the season is if the defense plays like the way they did in that game for the rest of the season. But
Yeah,
yeah, not
yeah.
afraid of the
Well,
Ravens.
yeah. We'll see what happens in week 2. Will Travis Kelce injure another teammate? Will Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs start 0-2, or will the Eagles start 2-0? We'll see what happens. But Joey, I want to thank you for being the first guest on the Kelly Blitz. I want to thank Joey once again for taking time out of his day and being my first guest on the podcast. It was a pleasure having him on here and discussing our week 2 matchup. I want to thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of the Kelly Blitz podcast. I'll see you next Tuesday. And as always, go Birds.